All right. Hi, everyone. I hope you can hear me and hear me well. Hi, everybody. My name is Leif Wallace, and today I want to speak to you about some key design trends that I'm paying attention to. I'm really researching and delving deeper into that are really something I'm looking into to how I can really shape and impact the team that I lead and manage internally. One of the key things I'm beginning to see is that what I'm about to share with you today, many of you have seen and noticed all over the place, but I want to share these with you because I believe they'll be super essential to help you to just become a better designer. And that's fundamentally what I want to share and what I want to encourage you today. My name is Leif Wallace. Welcome to Wallace TV. And on this channel, I share advice, tools, and motivation to help you become a better designer. So if you're new here, please consider subscribing and just click that like button if you like what you're going to hear so far and if you like what you're hearing today. So today I want to delve deeper into what we specifically mean when we talk about, these design trends. And I don't really like to use the term design trends because fundamentally, designers are not about being trendy. We're about solving problems that people are having and allowing their life to be much better, allowing the experience to be really, 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 really good. And also helping the business hit their goals within the technical feasibility that we have and are dealing with at that specific time. So what I want to touch on specifically is this, which is what I'm calling the rise of the ethical design or the ethical designer. And fundamentally, what I'm talking about first, I would say rise of the ethical design part one. And what I'm talking about here is the fact that privacy and what is happening with our data, users are becoming more aware. In business language, we would call this the market sophistication. The sophistication of individuals is heightening as more information is becoming more available. More and more users are aware of what's happening with their data and how their data is to be used. So as designers, we need to become what I would call champions for how users are going to be concerned about how their data is going to be managed, and also how we can bring the ability for them to control their data to the forefront and not try and sugarcoat it or hide it behind layers and layers of, in the preference areas or in account areas. Making the ability to track and see and know what's happening with their data, bring it to the forefront, allow it to be easy to be found, allow it to be easily accessible, and make decisions easy for users as well. One of the key things we've also got to pay attention to as designers is also the fact that with the rise of ethical design is that there's personalization that we have to be more and more mindful of. That yes, as we increase with data, personalization is informed by the data we gain. So we need to think about the moral sensitivities of that. We need to think about the creativity of that within a moral framework, and also what we call moral advocacy, where we're advocating for good principles within organizations. Even though organizations are going to be profit driven, how can we as designers still champion good ethical morals and at the same time still hit the business goals, maintain technical feasibility that we're working in at the time, and champion the user and the user first? So I want to share with you some key things I think we also are going to see going forward, and some key trends that I believe we really should pay attention to. Another thing is minimalism. So what do I mean? Specifically, minimalism has gone, with you as a user interface design trend. This is something that has been around for a number of years. So it's not exactly new, but I think it's regained popularity this year, simply because many website visitors are looking for sleek, simple, easy to use interfaces. Where they have little to no time for dozens of pop-up windows, irrelevant notifications, and anything that slows down the process of finding relevant information, and ensuring that user journey is purposeful by opting for simple and time-saving design. These features can be easily searched for and items of interest. So in other words, what I'm really trying to say here is that many users are overloaded with information, jumping from website to website on their social media apps, and being at home. I read a report where it said it's accelerated the world's transition online by about 2 years because of the pandemic. So you've got to think about so many people browsing the internet on a regular basis. The more minimal and easier to use our websites become, is the more engaging that we can be over time. and allowing users to get to the answers and the things that they need faster is a good principle to have as a product designer and UI or visual designer as well. Now, one of the key things I want to touch on here is this kind of the work from home balance. This is a trend that is really going to become something that is, something we really got to pay attention to. The work from home balance is more and more something that is on the rise more than ever before. With so many of us as people who are, who've been around, seen the pandemic, how it's hit lives, how it's hurt people, how it's affecting so many lives. One of the key things that I'm seeing is that your ability to work from home is going to become more and more something that businesses have to pay attention to. Businesses have to basically start to say, with so many people working from home, we better basically put it in contracts, give people the options to become competitive as businesses. This is something that more and more designers of us, we're going to start looking for. So as designers, your ability to work from home, does it allow you to work better or not? Some people may not have very good home situations where they have actual offices that they can tuck away into. But it's something to pay attention to, something where I believe as we go forward, as you begin to look at new contracts for work or new, job proposals that you see out in the marketplace, working from home is going to become something where I'm going to see more and more and more. Another thing I want to touch on is 3D elements in design as platforms increase in power. So one of the key things we're seeing is that Chrome, Safari, Firefox as browsers are also increasing in their ability and technical skill to display more high resolution websites faster. But also these browsers on our mobile phones, as our mobile phones get more powerful, we can start to do a lot more as designers. And a lot of designers, and this is an example on Revolut.com, are beginning to take notice of that, pay attention to that, utilize the fact that there's these 3D elements that we can start to pay attention to and seek how these 3D elements can begin to impact our designs to be a lot more engaging and a lot more satisfying to the end user. Plus, it's a lot more playful for us as designers. So one of the key things that you can begin to start doing as a designer, if you use Figma like I do, you can go into the Figma community section and start to look at 3D elements that you can start to source and play around with and see how designers are playing with these 3D elements to allow their pages to have a bit more life and have a feel of like things popping off and coming out of the page a bit more or out of the screen a bit more, which is really, really engaging. And I really like what's happening there. Another thing I want to touch on is storytelling in product design. So like I mentioned before around personalization, storytelling is key because it utilizes the digital tools currently available and allowing you to really understand your consumer. So take time to deliver tailored content to your audience, and storytelling is part of that. So taking people on a journey, utilizing the visual 3D elements, and even leveraging step-by-step journeys to allow people to get to the end result and the goal that you want to achieve. You see, focus on the value of your product, which delivers that focus on the value your product delivers to your consumer. And storytelling is really about saying, using video, using imagery, using good copywriting. And in the team that I'm in currently, we have a copywriter in the team to really help us to really take that skill to the next level. But storytelling within your product and your design is super essential. Leveraging video is part of that, but really understanding storytelling and how it works really helps to elevate us as designers going forward. Another thing I want to touch on is what I'm talking about here, which is powerful front end website editors. Funny enough, recently I've been paying attention to, obviously, you have your WordPress editors like your Elementor and your Divi builders, which are increasing and getting much better and better. But you kind of have your standalone web editors like Editor X done by the Wix team, because personally, the Wix design for me wasn't Squarespace. Like Wix kind of always came in at kind of substandard design level, but the Editor X team that's worked on Editor X, I must applaud you guys for visually what you've created. Something really, really looks really good. The Editor X, I don't know the designers there, but what they have done with the Editor X platform to be a part of the Wix family, and I love the fact that they rebranded themselves away from Wix. It seems like they were very aware that true designers didn't really like the Wix platform because Squarespace looked so good. And when you looked at Wix, you just felt like you were cheapening some of the design skill there, unfortunately, or they were really just targeting a certain market demographic that didn't really care as much about design as much as we do as solid designers. But the team at Editor X really have created a website editor that's very, very powerful. Now, a lot of what you see on Editor X or any of these other standalone web editors, you can still create it within Elementor and Divi if you are a skilled designer. But what Editor X does with its pre-made templates and some of its drag and drop functionality, I find is quite powerful. And I'm seeing the rise of these very, very powerful website editors that can really allow the skill of design to really flourish in its highest. You also got things like Webflow as well, which also take it to that next level, standalone tool, which is even much more powerful as well. Another thing I'm going to talk about here, it's not like design systems are a trend for this year. They've been around for a long time. But specifically here, what I'm emphasizing is the essential nature of design systems for organizations going forward. One of the key things you're going to start to see in culture, outside of just our industry as designers, is that more and more as organizations are getting older, or as organizations are seeing startups coming into their industry and disrupt them much faster, the bigger organizations will start to combine together to basically bring together their skills and abilities. So what you're going to start to see in some of these mergers, or if not mergers, or this kind of acquiring of new companies within, how can design systems help to scale product design going forward? The key emphasis when I talk about design systems are scalability and that consistency, right, across the business as it grows. So design systems are going to become more and more essential because it helps to save time for an organization. It speeds up development over time, and that consistency is embedded in the design system long term. And this helps to create a clear standard of these reusable components that allow designers who pop in and out, or developers that pop in and out of these organizations, the organization won't lose its scalability and its speed of design and development because they have design systems in place. And organizations that do not have design systems in place are actually losing out. And this is why, as designers, we need to start championing the power of utilizing a design system in much bigger organizations. And even when we're working in startup organizations, one of the key things we really got to pay attention to is how do we emphasize and teach the entrepreneur, the startup individual, the power of leveraging good design in the beginning and beginning to scale that over time, and why it's important and why design systems are important. My next point is around what I'm calling the strategic designer. Okay, so when I mean by a strategic designer, it's like if a designer wants to be considered more than just a tactical resource, but as a trusted advisor, then they need to be able to work with their client and satisfy both short-term imperatives and lay a strategic roadmap for the future of the business. This involves generating discussion around the bigger picture and essence of the brand. So fundamentally, it's a lot of big lingo here, but really what I mean by a strategic designer, the fact is that as more and more of us are working from home, as the marketplace for design widens up, as companies begin to realize, okay, we don't need to have everybody inside all of the time. We know what's happened with the wider culture, the pandemic that's hit, and how it's affected so many of us. But we have to understand that as designers, we need to basically, in organizations, make ourselves seem more pivotal to the growth of that company. And one of the ways that you can do that as a designer is strategically putting your footprint down, I should say, to stamp has like, how do you think wider than just the visuals of what you do? As a designer, are you thinking about brand? Are you thinking about marketing? Are you thinking about customer relationships? Are you thinking about how are they going to generate leads? How are leads coming in? What are leads going to see? How are we nurturing those leads? How are we converting those leads? How is delivery of that product or service going to be improved through the product that we're designing? And even down to things like retention, resale, and upsell, and all of these different aspects of the customer journey. How are you as a designer showcasing that what you do as a designer impacts more than just the visuals of the product that you are working on itself? So being a strategic designer really helps you to become more essential within an organization, and allows you to become more valuable as well. So these are some design trends that I wanted to share with you. And my question of the day is, are there any design trends that you're paying attention to that I've missed out? You know, please let me know in the comments below if there are any design trends that you're paying attention to that I've missed out. Let me know in the comments below, and I'm happily going to share it with you as well. So I just want to say, guys, listen, look after yourselves, look after your families, and I pray that you have a great day and take care. Bye-bye.